looking real angry with what looked like 3/4 of a shotgun in his hand. But what you saw was the wild look in his eye. That's what you saw. Did I scare you? You're such a jerk. You're such a jerk. But what you saw was the wild look in his eye. I love doing voices. I wish I could have been like one of like my like jobs I never could have I would have enjoyed doing and never did would be a voice actor. I think being a voice actor would have been really fun. I'm not saying I'm particularly skilled at it or anything like that, but I would have enjoyed it. Mm-hmm. Well, that's what we should do. You can start animating stuff, and I'll do the voice acting part. Yeah, this is what you sounded like. Hang on a second. Yeah. Why not? Why didn't you let it do the podcast? It was just like 4 seconds from a YouTube video. That's sad. That's sad. Hello.
that. Oh, okay. Speak again, Jock, really quick.
Again, Jock, really quick.
Okay, well, me fixing my mic fixed Discord for those few seconds there.
Do you need another sound test, or are we good?
No, that was a sound test right there. You're good.
Okay, because I got that baby thing still.
The things I do for the internet. Yeah, Kino's Journey, the remake. It's a Beautiful World, episodes 1 and 2.
It's not called It's a Beautiful World. What are you talking about?
Yes, it is.
No, it's not called
Kino's
It's a
Journey.
Beautiful
It's a
World.
Beautiful World.
No, it's called The Beautiful World. Prove to me it's called It's a Beautiful World.
If it's a mistype, I'll take full responsibility.
Yeah, but then you double down. You're like, no, that's really what it is.
We're gonna just move on. Just gonna move on.
You know.
Move on. I could be watching One Piece right now.
You gonna go watch One Piece while I talk?
No, I couldn't possibly listen to all that whining at the same time.
So,
really quick, I'll you have the floor. Wait, why did? Oh, I fixed that. Never mind. I was gonna say, what the heck? So these next few podcast videos are going to be hosted specifically by Jock or Spear, I should say, and I guess it is another anime he wants to throw into the what works for right after Kino's Journey, because I think My Hero Academia comes back in October. But you have literally 2 months. I also thought we were gonna do every week because you wanted to do this, but I guess we're still doing the every 2 weeks thing. So after this week, Spear will be back in the hosting seat again. So I'm gonna shut up and mute myself and let him take over. You have
whoa,
the floor.
No, you're not muting yourself for the whole thing. That's ridiculous. That's fine, but why don't we have a conversation instead of off balancing the fact that you talk too much by having me talk too much? Like, that's not justice. That's not like the way to fix it. Oh my gosh. So I'll lead the conversation, but I want a conversation. I don't want to just sit here and talk.
You're complaining. That's all I'm hearing. I give you the power. You don't want it.
I didn't want that power. Okay. What did you think of the art style of between the two? The difference in the art style?
It was horseshit. No, I actually this is gonna surprise you. The main reason why I actually managed to rush through 3 episodes was I liked the art style. I legitimately loved it. I loved it way more than the original. That's not saying the original was bad. It's just that I don't know what it is. If for me, this particular run of the show, I liked looking at the pictures I was looking at. Not that I didn't like the other one, but just I preferred this. This is my preferred.
Why?
This looked way more colorful, and like I think I said this to you in the chat. I could tell Kino was a girl before. Like, granted, after...
No. Let's just before we do the Kino as a girl thing. I just want to talk about the art style in general, and then we can do Kino as a girl.
I mean, besides that, just everything was more vibrant. I'm used to in modern day anime. I get that Kino, the original, was from like an era in anime, and I enjoy that era. I'm not saying that era was bad. I don't know why. This is like I think for this one in particular, this show benefited from brighter colors, considering that it's a beautiful world. Well, the beautiful world. Sorry.
But the beautiful world is sort of an ironic phrase in this show.
I think this kind of works because like it's really pretty on the cover, right? Like in that first episode.
With the original episode, with the original series, episode 2, there's a quote that comes up at the end of the episode that says, "The world is not beautiful," and that in fact gives it a sort of beauty. So like the beautiful world is supposed to be like sort of a thought-provoking statement, like because the world that they're discussing isn't really beautiful per se. So it's sort of like it's sort of there to make you think. It's not supposed to be a literal statement that the world is beautiful.
But
But in the new one, it is sort of beautiful. If you look at the original series, and like even if you just go Google image search some stills from the episodes, you'll see that there's like a general sense of like everything having sort of a brownish pallor over it, even sometimes gray, but usually brown. But in Kino's eyes in the original are brown, and in the new series, like they're this emerald vibrant green. So they even changed like the character design in that way, like drastically. Like there's vibrant greens and bright blue skies in the new one, and the old one, even when the sky is blue, it's not like a real optimistic blue.
I want to actually say something really quick. You complaining about the eye color. I mean, like, I'm already aware that you like the original more than this. I'm guessing from your first nitpick is the art. But there's a manga. There's like a manga. I'm not sure how new this manga is. This manga cannot be based on how her body proportions are like. Wait a minute. This is a really old image. I don't know if it's really brown. I don't know if the original, because this is the other thing too. I'm pretty sure Kino's Journey was a light novel that got adapted.
Okay.
Typically, at least when it comes in general, this isn't talking about Kino in particular. This is just in general. I noticed a lot of times when there is like a light novel or something that gets turned into an anime, and I think thereafter gets a manga thrown in for some reason. Typically, sometimes the characters, like, I guess they're able to be embellished. I mean, even I guess with Kino's original appearance in the original art that I'm looking at right now in the manga, I don't know if that's brown. Much more like maybe it's more black.
What? Her eyes?
Yeah. I mean, still there's a dark muted color. But I'm just saying, like, there's always a chance that, like, you know, the design change, or they decided to give her maybe.
It's definitely not green. Brown or black, like fine. That's like sort of a not really the point. You know what I mean? Because my whole point is that like they're making it like they took a much more muted style. And I always like, this isn't a perfectly accurate description of it, but I always heard the style of the original anime was stylized and unique to me, and it felt a little bit like it was inspired by Thomas Kincaid. Are you familiar with that artist?
No, you brought this up. You brought this up to me. I think you showed me something about him, and I understand you have an nitpick. I just want to, like, really quick on the image that I have for the podcast in general. Look at Kino there. Yeah. Are her eyes green to you there, or are they brown?
In that picture, they're like gray. But if you look in the anime, like if you go back and watch the actual anime in practice, like it's very clearly brown. I mean, it's very clearly green.
That could just be the way the light was hitting her eyes. I mean, I'm not saying.
Oh no, it's even in this particular still.
No, I've seen what you're talking about. I've seen the color of her eyes turn green.
They're like shining green in the anime. Like they're like, it's not even a little bit green.
I don't know. For me, the art style just lets me enjoy the world. And you said that, you know, it was always ironic. Who's to say that? Look at it like this in this particular site. The world is beautiful, right? On like the very, very, very like top of it. You know, the wax or whatever, like, right? You know, the wax over everything. And you said that it's not really beautiful. I think the irony there is that it's not really beautiful, even though it's showing itself to be really beautiful. Because I mean, for crying out loud, that very first episode, perfect example of the world being just drastically so kind of dark. There's a country literally in the world. I guess we could talk about the show now, but overall, but you can ask questions because I know you got more of them. But just in general, it's like the first episode But because I think she even says at the end of it, like you said before, the world's not beautiful. I think she actually says that, at least in the English dub that I watched. Which I got something to say about that too in a minute. But I kind of like that it's like, you know, it draws me in like a normal anime because this is an anime, and you know, Kino came during a time when anime was very, I don't want to say realistic, but like realistic in a sort of sense, and like, you know, they use muted colors, which was fine at the time, but it's like, I don't know why I find myself really more drawn in and more able to watch here. I still feel like they can get the point of their show across. I mean, with more color. They can depict way more like very grotesque shots now. If there was something in the original that they couldn't get across, they could use the color palette they have access to now. I feel like the color access and the way everything looks here really can lend itself better to more like say she was in a rainy city or something like that. Typically rain during the time when the original show came out of, it would have been okay, but it wouldn't have been like the most beautiful thing in the world because there's not a lot of they're not using a lot of color to depict rain falling on the ground, and you know, let the world look how it, you know, how it normally would look in real life, where, you know, everything is covered in it. I don't know, for me and just in general, I enjoy this show's look here. Is it better than the original? I mean, I don't know. I couldn't tell you because I honestly sit there and say I will not go back to that original now because I've experienced this.
I didn't like the newer anime style because it just felt predictable to me. I was like, oh, okay, this is like a standard anime. Like when you watch the opening, the opening sequence follows the standard anime like formula with like, if you watch it, like I'm gonna watch it right now while I'm talking to you. They've got birds flying in the sky, and they do teasers of like the characters that are going to be featured in the show, and, like little hints about what's going to happen in the future and stuff like that. And it's just sort of like boring to me. In that sense,
I say I don't agree with that. It doesn't feel boring to me. I mean, maybe it's stereotypical, but it's like at the same time, I was mostly listening to the music, and I thought the music was really good. Honestly, from the way that they were doing everything, to me, it sounded like they were kind of going with the slice of life. You're following I don't know how old she is. I want to say she's probably 16 or something like that. I don't want to say schoolgirl for her life. She's not. But
yeah.
Just a
in fact, I don't think she even went to a school in her. At least in I don't know. I haven't watched my way through this version of her, obviously, but in the original one, I don't think she even went to a school. Like I think she worked in an inn, and there was no real like school in that world.
And on top of that, I don't think she's changed all that much. Well, at least in the very little I remember, I see a lot more here in this particular version where she seems to be. It's like, I guess I want to say she's really melancholy. She doesn't.
Oh, I've got a whole different conversation about how much the characters change. Right now, I'm still on the art.
There are some changes. Okay, again, you can tell who watched the show more, not me. But for me, I just like it. I mean, I understand you don't, and I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying that.
No, I don't. It's not that I dislike the art style. It's that
you don't like it.
There was something. No, there was something really unique about the original art style, and that captured me right away. It was like this. I saw the original art style with it was stylized, and frankly, it's from what I saw about the original anime when I used to read about it and stuff like that online. The original art style is criticized by most people, so I know it's not necessarily the most popular choice in the world for me to feel the way I do about the original art style, but it was different. Like it stood out to me, and like that's a big like draw for me. Like with a good anime, like I will watch an anime sometimes just because its art style is so different and unique. Like Noir is like a favorite anime of mine, but like because I love the art style, but like I will have to admit that like the anime itself has a lot of shortcomings. You know, like I really enjoy parts of Noir, but like about halfway through, Noir becomes not a very good anime in my opinion.
Can you take a step back real quick, just really quick?
Yeah.
Think about your anime that you've personally enjoyed. What era would you say they were coming from?
I don't know. I didn't know there were eras of anime.
Anime, as the animators get better, the show's quality goes up. I suspect that the original Kino came from an era like during the era of like shows like Kenshin, for instance, or earlier Dragon Ball Z, where like the lines weren't as thick, basically, and like
I
they were.
wonder if the original hang on.
At the same time, like I mean,
I
I'm
wonder
not
if
gonna
the
say
original
this
Kino's
like
journey was drawn by hand.
this is
That's what I'm
drawn by
looking at
hand
right
or is
now.
it computer generated? I can't really remember. I know when
The
CGI
new
is
one-
used, it's computer generated.
Hang on.
I don't know. For me, the original art style like just didn't really draw me
Yeah,
in all
the
that much.
original anime was hand-drawn animation, which I do have a bias towards.
I mean, hand-drawn anime can be really freaking good. At the same time, that particular art style just didn't draw me in. I don't know what it was, and I couldn't really tell you what it was. I look at original Kino, I'm like, okay, and this goes beyond is she a girl? Because that doesn't really ultimately matter. Because typically, what the show will do, they'll eventually, if they know that the people watching need to know or just are curious, they'll tell you. So it's not that big of a deal with the art style. Because even with that, it's like, technically speaking, she still really does look boyish. The only way you would really know is you stare at her eyes and you see her eyelashes coming off the end of her eyes. Even that is like, depending on who's drawing. Like typically boys can have long eyelashes in shows, it just depends. But she's really boyish anyway, so I was like at the same time I was like, but because I noticed she's a girl, I think that's contributing to a lot
The
of it.
original Kinos is almost trans. The original Kino, like you could almost make an argument that the original Kino was intentionally a trans character.
I don't know about that.
Why not? Because I'm very glad to make this argument.
Because like doesn't she in like during isn't it during the battle when they isn't it like during like the tournament whatever the town second episode town when they call her a boy, she at first doesn't say much or anything, but then she fights back the idea that she is a girl. I don't think
Did she fight back that she was a girl, or did she just not like being called boy because boy is disrespectful whether you're a boy or not?
No, I'm pretty sure she said that she was a girl. Like almost in a
No,
way
she didn't
of, like,
say she was a girl. She did not say she was a girl. She just didn't want to be called boy.
No, but didn't she tell that? But didn't the guy that I think his name is Shizu, at the end mistook her for a boy, and the dog ends up telling her not in the new one because I know in the new one they do that. But I swear they do the exact same bit in the original where he thinks that Kino's a girl, and she even goes out of the way says like she doesn't she was told to avoid strange men, and again that is something that you tell young women who are on their own out in the wild by themselves. Typically, you tell them to don't go with strange men. Specifically, you tell them that. I mean, that's more like a sexist remark, but at the same time,
That's
it's
a very
something.
valid statement. But the reason I say that she's almost trans is because the episode in the original, there's an episode in the original that shows her origin story, and she starts out very much as a girl, right? And when Kino, because Kino's not even her name is probably Lily in English. When Kino, the actual Kino, the traveler that that dies, saving her life. When he dies, saving her life, and she takes Hermes and escapes the village, she wears his jacket because that's not her jacket. Like it's his jacket. She puts on his jacket and she becomes Kino. And like she decides, she takes on his name, she takes on his identity as a traveler. She becomes as much like him as she possibly can, as sort of a way to honor him for saving her life. Like it's like her way of honoring him. But in the process, the reason I said it's not necessarily trans in the traditional sense, where like you feel like you're, like usually when I think of someone that has decided that they're going to live as a woman, like it's usually because they feel like that's their true identity. So in that sense, it's not, because Kino never like says, "Well, I always felt like I was a man" or something like that. But she just lives the rest of her life, um, being as much like a man character that she met as possible.
I don't think trans
So
is
in
the
that
right word for
sense,
that.
it's not what
I don't think trans is the right word for that.
I know, but I said almost trans. It's like trans adjacent.
I mean, I know you're trying to get at, but I don't know.
But she's trying to be like a specific man.
Even with that, she still kind of looks girly anyway. If you really look at her, like, I mean, I think most people when they call her a boy, they just kind of like glance at
Well,
her.
she's not exactly getting reconstructive surgery or something, dude. Like, you know,
Not,
she's still in a universe where shit doesn't happen like that. You know what I mean? But like, um, she's wearing men's clothing. She's mistaken as a boy. You know what I mean? In the Coliseum episode, when they think she's a boy, like she's definitely like got boy-like traits going on here. Not, you know, even if you just disregard like the fact that she's like a gunslinger and stuff like that, which in her universe seems to be not common behavior for a woman.
I mean, here's my, like, assuming she's trying to be managed when she's trying to like emulate the dude. I feel like that's an assumption. Not saying it wrong. I'm not saying I'm right on that regard either. Because I mean, it's clear that yeah, she says in the very first episode that she met a traveler and she wanted to be like this person. She didn't give a name. She didn't give a gender to this person yet. But apparently, I
But
don't remember. I
you
don't remember it
find
being a
out
dude. I don't remember being. I
there's
don't.
an episode that is her origin story when she's a little girl living in a village, and you don't remember this episode?
Dude, I just said earlier the original Kino didn't really stick with me.
Okay. So there's let me give you a summary of the episode I'm referring to, because yeah, she does mention it in the first episode too, kind of briefly. But there's an episode, Land of Adults, I think is the name of the episode, where there's a village and a traveler named Kino, specifically named Kino, that's wearing that jacket and comes to a village where our Kino, whose name is probably Lily, and it's not Lily, because they suggest that it's Lily in the English version, but the Japanese version where it's canon, it's obviously not going to be Lily. But the in the episode, Kino, excuse me. In the episode, Kino's a little girl, and she's about to undergo an operation that is going to turn her into an adult. And it's an operation that all the girls go through. There's this big, shady-looking building way ahead where you go to get the operation, and when you come out of it, you're basically like an adult, but you're also sort of brainwashed. And the Kino the Traveler has like a policy about like not interfering with local society. And he kind of lets it go for a little while, but he bonds with her because she's an innkeeper, like the daughter of the innkeeper, and she's going to become an innkeeper when she grows up. So he's staying there because he's a traveler, and he bonds with her, and like after a while, he just can't take it. Like he knows that like her life is about to be over. She's going to lose all of her identity, and so he interferes when they find out that she doesn't want to be the little girl that becomes Kino decides that she doesn't want to be doesn't want the operation, and partially she's influenced by that by interacting with this traveler who sort of ruins it for her. You know what I mean? Like she was thinking about it, she's excited about it, and then like she meets him, and like he kind of changes her view on the world. And then the villagers decide that she's damaged now and she's irredeemable. She doesn't want to become an adult. So they decide to kill her, and they're running at her with a knife, and he throws himself in the way, and he gets killed instead. over the few days while they were there, he comes across a motor ad, the traveler named Kino,
Bike.
and he's fixing it up. Okay, but he's fixing it up and like getting to know it. So when he dies, Hermes, the motor ad, is like, "So, are you gonna stay here and die, or do you want to get out of here?" And like Hermes, like there's a chase scene where she gets on Hermes, and Hermes basically teaches her how to ride a motorcycle while she's escaping from being murdered. And then once Kino leaves, she has his jacket and she puts it on, and she takes on his identity in the world as a traveler. And then I think next chronologically, although the episodes themselves aren't in chronological order, I think the next thing that happens is she meets the master who teaches her to be a gunslinger. But that is the character that Kino bases her entire life on after that. It's like that traveler that dies for her. So she spends the whole series emulating the life of the person that died for her. So it's like she's living his life for him because he died for her. And she wears his clothes, and she takes his name, and she looks masculine, for many intents and purposes for the characters in there that sometimes confuse her for male. And it's a big reveal in one of the episodes when you find out that she's actually female. Like, that's sort of a big reveal because you're meant to believe that she is a male at the beginning.
The whole argument, her trying to be, man, this isn't like I hate. This has nothing to do with my feelings on trans people. That has nothing. I want to say I feel like that's the wrong thing. I feel like she's more tomboyish. Is the better way to put it.
I don't think either one is a particularly perfect way to put it. I think she's trying to live as if she was Kino.
That I can get behind, but the whole she's trying to portray being a dude, I don't know if that's really what she's trying to do.
She's not specific. Like, she's probably. She's not specifically trying to be a dude. She's specifically trying to be this specific character that happens to be male. So she takes on a lot of his characteristics and comes across as a little bit masculine in the process.
I really should have done, and I don't know why I didn't do this.
I mean, she's probably at best she's asexual.
That's not. I'm not even gonna. I'm gonna have to respond to that.
Why not?
What was I had it for? No, what I was trying to get at was like, there's actually something that in Japanese that they do, and I forget. It's the pronoun in which women use to say I. I think it's watashi wa or something like that. I forgot what it was specifically, but it's like there's a feminine lady who say I. I bet that if I could hear that and what she actually uses to say I, maybe that would if she's trying to come off as a dude, like then that whatever. But I would have to go back and listen to that. And also,
I mean, I can ask ChatGPT.
I wouldn't ask ChatGPT. Okay, so
the gender neutral. She's referring to herself using the gender neutral pronoun boku. This is typically used by boys or men in Japanese, but is also commonly used by tomboyish or androgynous female characters in anime and manga to convey a sense of neutrality, stoicism, or non-traditional femininity. This use of boku fits her calm, composed, and somewhat detached personality and aligns with the series' themes of philosophical observation and non-judgment. It also reflects her desire not to be defined strictly by traditional gender roles. Let me know if okay.
Well, boku is used by boys, but okay. Typically, it's
commonly used.
With that said, I mean, I'm agreeing with what you're saying. I'm just saying that typically that is what it is because this is when there's men trying to be women, which is really hard to do in anime for some reason. They do it on purpose, but unless the boy is gender neutral, but whatever. Uh, yeah, Boku typically they'll use that when they shouldn't. And it's commented on a lot that they shouldn't do that, but they can do it. Okay, she's trying to be gender neutral as possible. Is I guess the general consensus here.
But I mean, in that case, she defaults to a word that is often used by boys or men. So I mean, she's really pushing the line there. Like I said, she's not trans, but she's acting in ways that are very parallel to a trans person at times.
Honestly, I'd rather say that she's a lesbian. And
she's definitely she doesn't show a sexual attraction to anybody. So calling her a lesbian doesn't make sense either. Sexually, she's asexual. As far as we can tell, she's no sexual attraction to anybody at all.
We don't know that. I mean, sometimes
we don't even.
Sometimes you don't have to display if you're attracted to somebody. I'm not saying she is. I'm just saying that
there's no sexual energy in any of this, anything in this series.
We don't know whether she's likes anybody or not. But again, she chooses her words specifically to come off as a boy, even though to me it's like a part of me doesn't. Even the new anime. If this is the whole point, I'm thinking her original design, the original anime probably did that better. I say that mainly because her hair appears flowing, and on top of that, I've seen enough anime for girls have like it's not a princess frame, but her hair is framing her face in a way that typically Japanese girls put their hair around their face, and like
in the old one or the new one?
In the new one.
Okay,
in the old one, she was trying to appear gender neutral, like a boy. It did a better job of it there. In the new anime, she even though it's still kind of like can be boy hair, like you can definitely tell that she cut her hair somewhere because it's not fraying in places that a male hairstyle would. Most male hairstyles, even like Izu, like his hair is kind of a lot better put. Even if it's possible he might have grew his hair out at some point and then cut it. Who the heck knows? But his is a little bit better, more like I wouldn't say masculine, but his hair fits his face, just like her hair does her face. But it's clear that she cut it. But okay, I like the animation style. You prefer the old one. I guess we can move on from that.
Okay, so let's talk about that beautiful thing for a second because we covered it a little bit. Here's a still of the moment when the original anime says the world is not beautiful. The world is not beautiful, and that in a way lends it a sort of beauty. So I use one of my online aliases that I use is Wabi Sabi no Tabi, and it's inspired. The alias is used as an inspiration by Kinos' Journey. I think I've spoken with you about before, but are you familiar with the concept of Wabi Sabi?
Probably know of it.
Hang on, I'll read you a definition from ChatGPT. Wabi Sabi is a traditional Japanese aesthetic and worldview that finds beauty in imperfection, impermanence, and simplicity. Here's a concise summary. Imperfection, cracks, weathered textures, asymmetry. Impermanence, things that age, fade, or decay are seen as beautiful. Simplicity is minimalism, modesty, and the unpretentious are ideal. It's rooted in Zen Buddhism. So the beauty of things, Wabi Sabi is the beauty of things that are imperfect, impermanent, and incomplete. So Kinos' Journey is Kino no Tabi, and I call myself Wabi Sabi no Tabi, which is like the imperfect journey. Do you know what I mean? And kind of a salute to Kinos' Journey. But I think Kinos' Journey, the original one, the art style embodies, and not just the art style, but I'm going to start with the art style, just transition out of that because we've been talking about it probably a little too much. But the original Kinos' Journey embodies Wabi Sabi in a lot of ways. Like things are intentionally a little bit there's no perfect day. Like I said, everything's got sort of a brown pallor over it. Things are a little bit worn out. There's a sepia tone to a lot of the artwork. that makes it look old, aged and faded, like almost like the film that you're watching has been aged a little bit and it's like sepia tone because of it. There's there's a sense of that kind of cracks and impermanence, and some of the places she goes are ugly, you know what I mean, and violent and horrible, and some of them are actually pretty cool, you know what I mean. There's very few places she goes. I don't think she ever goes anywhere that's just fantastic all the way through. I think there's always at least something wrong in every world she goes to, every country that she visits. But that's the point. The world is not beautiful, but that in a way makes it beautiful. It's a paradox. And that's something you're supposed to be thinking about. Now, in the beginning of the new Kinos journey, you get the absolute opposite of that idea. New Kino does not feel beautiful, and she's talking about it in the beginning of the first episode. She says the world around her makes her feel beautiful by association, basically. She's reflecting on it with Hermes, like in her first conversation. Like, she's like, the world around me, like, I love looking at the beautiful things in the world, and it makes me feel beautiful. And that is so radically different in concept from the original Kino's journey. Like I said, and they make everything else, they move away from that wabi-sabi feeling in so many other ways too, you know what I mean? Making her eyes bright green. Hermes, like the artwork on Hermes in the original one, he's brown, like the motorcycle is brown, and it looks like an antique motorcycle in a lot of ways. In the new one, they take a lot of the brown elements and they make them green. And they kind of like reinvent the whole concept, like artistic concept of Hermes, to make them shinier, and and the boxes that she carries on it are bright green and stuff like that. So there's a big sense there that like it's a completely different concept. Like the art concept goes in a completely different direction because of that. So the world actually is beautiful in the new one, and in the other one, it's outwardly stated and also stated through every moment of the series that the world itself can be very ugly, and it's not really a beautiful place in the traditional sense.
Okay, first thing I wanted to touch upon, I couldn't get it after like the ChatGPT thing, Japan values imperfection. That is not true, because like some of like the some of their
I didn't say
cultural
Japan. I didn't say Japan. I said the concept of wabi-sabi, which happens to be
but it
a
comes
Japanese concept.
that
That
is
doesn't mean everybody like embraces it universally. It just means it's from Japan, and that's the concept.
I know, but what I wanted, like, kind of what I wanted to say. I always seem to, I always, for whatever reason, I know rose tinted glasses romanticize Japan. I just want to fight against that because I hear so much about like how specifically women in Japan, how bad it is to be, I guess the politically correct way to say is curvy, because you stand out. But okay, getting off of that, I understand.
What?
I'm sorry, you just posted a picture, and I'm just like, Rick?
Oh, I'm just showing the two old and new version of Hermes. That's all, for reference while we're talking.
You don't want.
You can see that Hermes is pretty different.
That's not the way he looks. I really don't remember the whites on this bike. Could this be the shine and 3D modeling? Do not.
Well, that's what I'm talking about. In the new one, like Hermes is shiny.
But I don't know. Like just in general, like to piggyback off the art, like to me, this one drew me in way more. And like, I'm not saying that the original was bad, or I don't know why. Just for me in general, when I was watching it, I remember as I was watching the original one, even while I was talking to you about it and stuff like that, like I just didn't feel any real connection to anything in the world, or even found all that much interest in anything that was happening. Because like even in the new one that they decided to apply spit polish to, like even if it was all colorful, I found myself more interested and more wanting to be involved. And like the first episode again, like the town full of people who were murderers, and the dude that the guy earlier, he was idolizing, saying that he it's supposed that he moved here in this town full of murderers where murder is okay. Like, yeah, the world's not beautiful, and I feel like you can do that in a different way versus the world physically not appearing, um, not appearing beautiful. Because everybody has a different way of looking at the world, and like in the original one, it was clear that the world it was like either a smog effect or he said sepia. It was very brown, and looking back on it now, I'm like, man, that's dull, and I don't know why how I even got through the first episode.
But do you see how it
Been a
embodies?
slog. It might have been a slog for me. I
Do you see
mean,
how it embodies wabi sabi though? The impermanence, things that age, fade, or decay are seen as beautiful. Minimalism. There's a definite minimalistic art in the original Kinos Journey. It's very minimalist, and modesty and unpretentiousness, cracks, asymmetry, and weathered textures. Like those are all things that are popular with the wabi sabi philosophy, and that is. Hang on. I just want to make sure wabi sabi is actually Japanese. Yes, it is. Okay.
This didn't. I mean, really quick, and I'll shut up.
Yeah.
I guess wabi sabi just doesn't speak to me, and I guess it's maybe what it comes down to. Because like for me, it's like I'm looking at that image, at least the first image you showed. It really deters me from it. And it's like I can understand art style and coloring in anything because like I'm all for it. Do what you need to do to get your point across, but I also have to acknowledge that to do that you're gonna really push some people away. Honestly, I think that's what's happening to me. Like it was a slog, and I watched it because like
ooh, that's a tough word to say for my favorite anime, but okay.
Yeah, I know, I'm sorry. Hurt me on Demon Slayer. You're getting your just kidding. I mean, I'm kind of being.
Really, you don't have to like it. I'm just talking.
I shouldn't say slog, but I remember trying to watch this show specifically and just being real about it. I merged and I watched the original. I could not. It was like when the episode ended, I was like, oh, thank God. Oh no, there's more. It was my mindset. It was like, and I don't know why. And I'm looking at it like it must have just been the color palette. I just was not liking it. And it's like, for me, it's like the color. Like, well, I understand. Take the color palette, do what you want with it. If brown was what the way they wanted. They really hammered that point home. And like, yeah, the world's not beautiful, but I still feel like you can get the point across by not being dull. Like, I feel like there's a way to do so, and I feel like they're doing it the best way they can. I mean, the murder town, and then the town with the king that was that caused a lot of catastrophe that Kinos solved, and then the third one where Kino was. I guess I'll just bring this up because I'll talk about it next 2 weeks from now. But and then the third episode, Kino in the moving town. While in the moving town, things were perfect and idyllic basically. But the outside world, because they were moving through it, they were leaving tracks, making it imperfect, and they had to go through basically another country's territory to move on. And that city didn't want them doing that, in varying points of view. They even bring it up at the end of that episode that both countries were bothersome in their own way. I think it even says at the end of it, like, one of the guys say that everybody, humans in general, are just gonna bother each other because we exist. They didn't say those exact words, but it's like we're not gonna move on through life without causing each other pain. But back to the whole idyllic thing. I mean, but back to the whole it's not perfect or the world. I don't know, just like that. Those episodes, the brown.
But I know it wasn't for everybody. I don't think when they made Kino's Journey, they thought it was going to be for everybody. I think they were going for fewer people, but wanting a more artistic expression when they did it. I think they were like, we're not going to make an anime that's for everybody. We're going to make a smaller anime. It was only a half series anyway. Like, they had no ambition to make it an ongoing series or anything like that. It was only it was 12 episodes. And I think that's what they did. They knew what it was. They knew it wasn't going to be the biggest thing in the world. And they're like, well, we're going to really embrace this whole feeling in as many ways as we can. And I really love that about it, the original one.
The brown. This is funny coming from me, but Just
Sepia. Let's go ahead and call it sepia, because I think in all cases that I'm looking at here, I'm looking at a lot of stills from Kino's journey. I think it's all sepia toned.
you know what I want to know? I know
And it's
color specifically causes emotions. I'm actually kind of
mhm,
curious what emotion sepia. Uh,
sentimental,
causes.
old and aged. Like it feels old and aged. It feels sentimental. It feels nostalgic. It feels deeper, like in a sense. Like when you look at an old picture, sometimes like people will intentionally take a modern photo and put it in sepia tone to make it seem like a little bit more deeper and artistic. I think it has a lot of those things. Bright and airy can feel shallow. Like bright and hit in your face can feel a little shallow sometimes. It can also, I mean, it's also very appealing. Like it's pleasing to see something, but like, I don't know. Like here's New Kino's Journey, a still from New Kino's Journey that I'm showing you. Everything there is so bright, and it looks like a mediocre video game. Like the
Oh, I take
artwork
offense to
style.
that.
That looks like a mediocre video game. The artwork style. It looks like, I mean, look how superimposed she is over the background, and how she pops out from like that still background there.
I kind of like that because it lets me focus on her versus like if she blended in with everything else. Like I don't have to work so hard to like see what's in the background in some cases.
Here's probably one of the most optimistic and bright moments in the original Kino's Journey. I'm going to paste over to you. This is from one of the last episodes, and she's looking out at the stars and feeling really good about herself. And that's about as shiny and brilliant as the artwork in the original one came. And you can still see there's that sepia tone over everything.
I don't know. My artistic brain is just saying no, no, that should not be how that colored. And I'm being legitimately honest too. Like, guess what's really going on? It might just be just
Mhm.
a difference in color opinion. I think is really what's going on, and my brain can't fight it. I can't
Yeah.
turn that off when I'm looking at this. It's like I flip the switch off and it comes right back on. I was like, what? Like my brain, and it's like
It's just everybody is bright and green, and it was it was nice to have someone do an anime studio doing something a little different than that. Everybody is bright and green. Most animes have that bright feeling to them, you know.
there's
So
some. I mean, I'm really quick. There's some enemies that do have that setup, but they use the color to just to show off different emotions. They can elicit different emotions through color. It's not always going to be because there's a lot of destruction in some animes. At least I watch. The color just shifts all of a sudden, and you can see that it's not this way anymore. Color can elicit different things. Just using
mhm,
while I understand like working with a very smaller color palette definitely probably
mhm,
can give challenges. I
mhm,
applaud them for doing that, but at the same
mhm,
time, it's like again, it's like I don't think
mhm.
having muted color is a bad thing. If for me, if I can
Right.
attach myself to the story, but I think mainly because I wasn't able to do any of that, and I was trying
Mhm.
to latch onto something. I couldn't
Yeah,
find anything beyond like the battle royale thing. Even that
the
was kind of
Coliseum
hit or miss
episode.
for me, huh?
The Coliseum episode is considered by the fans the worst two episodes of the original series.
Jesus. I hate to know what the second one is, but
Well, that's two episodes. That's like the
oh,
considered like many fans consider that the weakest episodes in the
well, no
series.
wonder the Coliseum episode seems so short in the remake. I was curious about that.
Yeah, I'll get to that too. I've got a lot to say about that. Trust me. We might have to do. This might turn into two episodes because I don't know how I'm going to fit everything into an hour for my notes.
You can do
Um,
it. We don't need to.
we'll see. You put me in charge of this, so let me be in charge of it.
I will. I'm sure. I just I
So
can't harp on anything
here's
but the color. Continue.
all right. Let's step away from the color for the rest of this episode.
I'm gonna harp on everything.
Except except to say that this is part of a drastic shift in the two episodes that make them two very different sides of a coin. In a lot of ways, the two series are very polar opposite of each other. So we have the bright and optimistic one and the dark one. The colors are part of a general larger theme of the original one that is supposed to be calming and it's supposed to be meditative, and it's supposed to be slow paced. And there is moments of tension in there because they're making an interesting story and everything like that. But a lot of the episodes, like, not a lot happens. Like, she's very meditative and very much a philosopher. She's very much like an empty vessel in the original series that takes things in, and a lot of times she takes things in and like really takes almost an extreme attitude. Like she does get involved in things a little bit at times, but like there's an episode in the original where she meets a woman that's trying to make a flying machine, and she helps them, and then when she's leaving at the end, she makes the flying machine and it actually works. And when they're leaving that country, Hermes says to Kino, like, you never get involved. Why did you help her make that flying machine? And she goes, I wanted to see if a person could fly. You know what I mean? Like she goes, I didn't think it would work. I wanted to see. And she's like, if you didn't think it would work, why did you help her? And she goes, well, I wanted to see if a person could fly. And but that's interesting in that case, you know what I mean? Because she's usually like doesn't interfere with things very much in that kind of a way, unless it's forced upon her, like it was in the Colosseum episode, you know, where she had to make a law, or she was going to make a law, so she just owned it and made a law. But there's a lot of episodes where she leaves things as they lie, like in pretty terrible situations, you know, without trying to get involved. So, and not avoiding attachment at all times. Like she wants to stay that empty vessel that just goes and is like sort of an observer of the world, and a traveler, you know. And she wants to very, very deliberately and intentionally in the original series wants to be nothing more than a traveler, not to become attached at all. And I will give the new one credit. From what I've seen so far, the new series, like New Kino avoids attachment too, but not as much. But the problem with the new Kino, not the problem, but the big difference, I will say, with the new Kino is there's much more energy, and doesn't just show in the colors, but it shows in a lot of other things. For example, she sleeps at night with her gun in her hand. The other Kino we know is armed to the teeth. She has like 7 knives and 3 guns on her at any time, because you see that episode where she has to disarm herself in episode 2, and she's got knives and everything galore all over the place. You know, she has at least 3 guns and at least 6 or 7 knives. But she doesn't sleep with a gun in her hand. Like she puts her gun down when she goes to sleep, wakes up and practices her quick draw, but like at night she's like asleep, you know, and she looks very vulnerable in her sleep, and she's like in her pajamas and stuff like that in the original series. This Kino has the knife and holds it, lays it on her back and folds the knife over, and just has it laying on her chest all night. Which adds that tension, and also turns Kino from a traveler to a gunslinger, primarily, in a lot of ways. I think this Kino is so far from what I've seen is primarily a gunslinger more than a traveler, like a traveling gunslinger. And it becomes a much bigger part of her identity in this one. She's an open carry. The other Kino, I think, is pretty much concealed carry. If nothing else, she has that like trench coat thing that like kind of covers her guns at a lot of the time. This Kino, like, it's pretty obvious that she's got a gun in a lot of the scenes, and she flaunts it, and she's a little more cocky about it. So there is that piece, and I'm going to stop narrating for a second and give you a chance to talk, even though I have more to talk about here.
I mean, I don't really have much to say. I mean, her involvement is interesting. Though I will say, like, I feel like her personality is kind of leaked into some of her involvement. And I'm not saying you said it was a bad thing. It was more of like she only got herself involved in one thing. It seemed like, and she always seemed to keep herself to that one thing.
Who? Which Kino? Old or new?
Old. I mean, not old. New.
New.
She seems to keep herself only involved in one thing. And I will say, like, I will have an argument against that. In the first episode, when she talks to that one dude, I didn't even bring this up, and I should. I'm watching the dub, so I'm probably gonna have there's gonna be different things going on.
Yeah, I'm watching the dub as well.
Oh, that voice from that first guy she met, I cannot believe that was freaking Ian Sinclair. For people who know who that is, you know why that's so important. But,
in episode 1?
Yeah, the blonde dude she spoke to that was on the ground in the very beginning of the episode.
Oh, who's Ian Sinclair?
He's a prominent voice actor who plays a character in One Piece. the dub.
Okay.
I recognize
Did
his voice.
you pick up the voice of Hercule Satan?
Was he in the
Chris
episode?
Rager? Chris Rager was in episode 2.
Was he the dude with the wait?
What?
Rager. Wait, he was the guy with he was the old man with the cane?
No, Chris Rager at 6:32 in episode 2
You mean the guy with the ball and chain?
was the voice of, yeah, with the ball of chain is very clearly. I heard the voice and I looked it up and confirmed that he was one of the voice actors in Kino's Journey. There's no way it's not him in that scene if he's already doing voice acting for Kino's Journey.
I didn't. I thought I recognized the voice, but I didn't really go into it. That's probably why I have the disdain to not want to look into that any further. But
That's okay. I thought that was kind of fun though. I was like, oh, cool, because he even sounds like he's playing Hercule Satan in that moment. It looks like he didn't even try to make a new character. It just sounds like he just inserted his Hercule Satan voice into that scene. Because there's, oh, I feel pretty bad beating up a little girl, and he says it like Hercule Satan would have said it.
Mm-hmm. But Kino's involvement, I don't know. Like again, I don't remember much how Kino acted during the knives thing. Was a new one. I don't remember that, but I'm not saying it didn't happen. I just don't remember seeing her disrobe knives. I'm like, good lord. I also did pick up on her
at the end of the original episode 2, A Tale of Feeding Off Others. There is there's a scene where they capture her. The 3 guys with guns capture her, and they tell her to get rid of all her weapons, like to completely disarm herself. And she just starts pulling knives out of everywhere. They're really intimidated. They're like, oh, at one point they're like, oh my god, how many knives do you have? And she drops 2 guns, and then she picks up the last gun, which has like a laser sight. And she goes, this is my last one. And they kind of like breathe like a sigh of relief, like, all right, we'll put it down. And then she shoots one of the guys between the eyes, and then like goes through a little quick combat scene and takes out all 3 of them.
But let's say she doesn't have knives, but I mean, she hasn't shown. The only thing she's shown right now that she was hiding was a sniper rifle, which was shocking. But at a point, I know, like her. I liked her involvement here. Basically, it's very sparing. It's like it, and it kind of seems she's still keeping the not getting too involved in the people's problems, even though she gets really involved in the 3rd episode.
New Kino?
Yeah, Kino.
New Kino in episode 2 leads to the complete destruction of the whole fucking country.
I don't see it that way. I see that she only really just shot the king, and she just said that everybody had to kill each other if they wanted to become the king. That's not telling them. They said
the new law. The new law in Kino's Journey, episode 2, is that everybody all the citizens have to kill each other. And the last remaining one will become the king. But what's the point? You're the king of nobody at that point because everybody else is dead. And it's in a world where it's said that like people are going to follow the rules no matter what, the law no matter what. So they all follow the law. They do go ahead and follow the law. And she walks out of like a fucking bloodbath that she caused by saying, everybody kill each other.
Does she do that exact same thing in the remake?
No, and it's very different in the original. In the original, there's a lot more backstory going on. And I guess we can talk about episode 2 now instead of like some of the other stuff.
No, you can about episode 1. I would just ask questions that you don't really need to talk about out of order.
No, it's okay. I've got a lot of notes about this. So in the original Kino's Journey, she's taken through the world of the Colosseum. And they talk to her about like what's going on there. And what happens is you can be a slave. Like if you come to the country and you don't join in the Colosseum, you can become a slave. But there's this whole lower class system that she walks through that's like mud people, like living in ditches and stuff like that. Like that's a huge portion of the country. The second class citizens and the slaves and stuff like that are like all living there like in the muck and in horrible poverty. And she makes some friends there and sees that there's some really good people there that are living under the oppression of the upper class, which lives in tremendous privilege and wealth, and just goes to the Colosseums to like watch the games and like be entertained and stuff like that. The lower class citizens aren't going to the Colosseum at all. And then she is also marched through a whole thing where she gets to know the king, and the king brings in the finalists and makes them see like some play where he tells his life story instead of like Hermes describing it the way Hermes just goes and tells you the whole backstory instead of her seeing it like directly and getting to know the king directly. And she learns that the king is a horrible person and that the upper class is living off the blood, sweat, and tears of the lower class, which is much larger and a lot of pain and misery and grief living down there. That the upper class is hedonistic and like watching people die in the Colosseums every day and stuff like that, with cruel things like with the wife and husband that she meets before she goes to the Colosseum, and they have a whole scene in this, not just a quick little glimpse, where she gets to meet them and like talks to them and gets to know them, and they say, and she meets the wife because the husband's dead at that point and gets to know him a little bit, and then she learns his backstory when she goes there about how the wife and husband were there and like the husband got killed and all that stuff. You get this huge amount of explication about how the world works there. So when she kills the king in that one and he dies, there's also a backstory where she's kind of saving Shizu from having blood on his hands from revenge. But she also makes the new law that is specific to the upper class killing themselves to have one of them become the new king, effectively eliminating the entire upper class and freeing the lower class, the larger lower class that was living in poverty, from the oppression of the upper class. There's still a king because there's one of the rules about the new law you can make is that it can't conflict with any existing laws. So she has to build on existing laws with her new law, but she makes one that effectively causes the upper class to be eliminated by all these horrible hedonistic people killing each other and freeing the other people. So in the original series, she's a hero, and the new series, she's kind of a psychopath because she just tells everybody to kill each other in a giant bloodbath.
This is gonna sound like I'm trying to go against you just for
Defend
a bit,
it.
but no, I'm
Okay.
not. This is me being real here. Let me be real here. I don't
Okay.
think she's a psychopath because the way she explains it to Shizu at the end of it, anyway, she still has that same exact thought process. She doesn't say revenge is dumb. Well, I thought that was interesting, but he explained all that happened in the preview. I think I understand what she meant by revenge is dumb. Even with all that, I feel like she did granted, the result that she did in the new one is cause an entire civilization to go under. At the same time, though, without the explication of there being lower class people there, which I don't think we saw any of that, based on, if I remember correctly, in the new Kinos journey. So there's like no real expectation of lower class dying because it doesn't seem like they exist from like what they showed us in the new one. Not saying they don't, it's just that right now we don't, as people watching this particular show, without knowledge of the other one. The only people that are dying are the upper class a-holes that go and watch people kill each other for sport, because like one of the things I kind of like, why I don't feel too bad for her headshotting the king was like the people in the crowd when it was clear that Kino had won her duel with Shizu. They were talking about kill him, and they were just chanting kill him. To me, when Kino saw what the people were doing and how ravenous they were, when she killed the king and then told everybody to kill each other to become king, and whoever it is, like you said before, what's the point of being king of nobody? But at the same time, to her, it was a punishment for the entire civilization, because she did meet that woman who told her to go and visit the town as soon as you can, even though it wasn't a plea for help. It was just more like he wants her to see what this particular part of the world is like. Just got involved in a very one-directional way of just basically killing the king, because that was all she wanted. She even tells Shizu that she, every time she kind of goes to, she kind of kills somebody. She just hasn't done that yet here.
Yeah.
Again, she only plans to kill one person, and to me, it doesn't seem like psychopathic. It seems like she has good intentions, and she doesn't mind.
What's the good intentions of telling a whole country to go into chaos and kill everybody?
Without the knowledge of the underclass, I don't feel bad for anybody in that town. Just saying. Like, I have an issue with billionaires. I don't like them. and like that's all
In
that
the original
town.
series, I didn't mind it so much. In the original series, I'm like, wow, that's a very violent decision for Kino, but I didn't mind it so much because I realized she was also being a hero. In the new one, like, you don't get any of that
I
feeling.
felt like
Like,
she
she
was a
just sort
hero.
of like, what?
I felt like she was a hero.
She killed off the whole country except for the people that flee.
I mean, if they got out, they got out, and they can move on. Who wants to live? To me, in my very straightforward looking at this, that city didn't deserve to be up. It really didn't. If if basically what they were showing us was like higher class society was getting their rocks off, watching other people kill each other, to me that's worse than like just the one headshot that Kino walks in, delivers, and walks out. To me, she just gave a law that no one really had to follow. You may say that everybody in that town follows every law, but it's like I feel like if there was a law crazy enough, they wouldn't follow it. Unfortunately, clearly there's no law that they wouldn't follow because she made a new one and they all literally went for it like ravenous animals. To me, like they didn't deserve to be alive. I'm not making the call of who lives or dies. I'm just saying that based off the fact that if they're willing to do this, who's to say they wouldn't? Those people wouldn't leave their town, their country, and go some other country and do the exact same thing there. In a really interesting way, she kind of just cut off the foot of the infected
I mean,
host.
she's hasn't really met the town in this one, like the country. Like she's all she knows about the country are the people in the actual arena. Like in the other one, she's taken out of it. Like the guard takes her to visit his family in the poor areas, and she visits and sees the country. Actually, sees the country. In this one, she's like in a jail cell, and she goes out and she's in an arena. She doesn't really talk to the people in the arena. Like in the original one, you get to know every one of her opponents and like their backstory a little bit. In this one, you barely get backstory for most of them, if any. And all she knows about the arena people are what she hears from the guard or through Hermes, secondhand information, and what she hears from the guards, the shitty guards that catch her at the beginning and taunt her. And that's kind of it. Like she doesn't get to see the country, so she doesn't really. It's a little bit reckless to tell the whole country to kill themselves when you don't really know what the country is outside of this arena. Like maybe there's good people out there. She knows there's at least slaves out there that chose not to fight in the arena that aren't there as spectators that are part of the kill each other, right?
They let the guard go, the good guard that was talking to her. Like, I mean, everybody's told him to leave.
Yeah, she didn't kill him or anything like that. She told him he should probably run, which he listens to. But even that's kind of weird because he talks to her when she comes back from one of her matches and congratulates her, and she walks by him without even talking to him. And suddenly at the end, she's saving his life. But like, there is at least a very different story being told here than was told in the original one, Colosseum, largely because they cut a shit ton of the story out to make it a one episode instead of two. And it changes the whole connotation of stuff. She didn't get to see the country. She didn't get to know the characters. As a matter of fact, because they cut so much out, like some of it doesn't even make sense. Like when the sword strike comes at her and she blocks it with her wrists, you don't know that she has metal like bracers on underneath her clothes, and they don't explain it even after they hit her.
No,
in the original one, you know that like she's got metal bracers on.
You see her put on those bracers before the fight even started as a protection.
Oh, they do? I missed that.
There's a scene literally of seeing her put the bracers on. A scene of it.
And also at the end, Hermes and the dog seem to know each other and are talking to each other, but you never see them talk to each other in the actual series. In the original, in the English one, they don't talk at all to each other, and they don't seem to know each other at the end. But if you turn on the subtitles, you can see that in the Japanese version, they knew each other and were speaking to each other, like because they were sitting next to each other while the match was going on between Kino and Shizu. But in this one, they just sort of have them like they have nicknames for each other, Rust Bucket and something else at the end. And like, you're like, well, why are they calling each other that? It doesn't make sense because you never see them talk to each other or get to know each other. And it's a surprise to Kino that the dog even talks in the first place, seconds beforehand. So given that Hermes was either in the jail cell or with Kino the whole time, like it doesn't make sense that Hermes would have talked to the dog.
Speaking of the dog, did you recognize the voice?
No, the dog, no.
That was Chris Sabat, Vegeta, Piccolo, aka All Might.
Interesting.
For some
That's a
reason,
big star for a tiny role.
For some reason, they pulled Chris Sabat off the table, off the bench. I don't know why. That
That's
was
funny.
obviously him. It was deep enough. People have distinct voices, and that was one of them.
Also, the fight with Shizu, like the fact that Kino was putting those iron braces on just for that moment, also doesn't make that much sense because she doesn't normally wear those in the animes. And the reason she puts them on in the original series is because there was a gunslinger that was allowed to surrender that talked to Kino because he was allowed to surrender, he had a chance to talk to Kino, and he warned her about Shizu and that he's a sword fighter and that he could block bullets and that he allows people to survive. And that's how she knows. She hears from like hearsay that like from talking to the guards and stuff like that Shizu is letting everybody live like she is, and also that he has a sword. So she puts on the bracers, getting ready for a fight with someone that's got a sword so she can defend herself. And she also knows that he's not going to kill. And this one, she's like, I know you don't kill too. And like, you're like, how the fuck did you know that? Because she just says it like she knows all along, but they don't actually explain how she knew that.
I'm not really all bothered by that.
There's some missing moments because they rushed it into one episode. I think that they were telling a story that did deserve 2 episodes. I think the fights were more engaging in the original one because you got to know the characters while they were fighting. It wasn't just like the moment that Kino won every single time.
I mean, I don't know. I enjoyed it. I feel like, I don't know, for me, it's like when I look back on that show as I was watching, it just seemed really freaking slow or too slow for me. I don't know what pace.
That's okay. It's like I said, I don't think it was meant to be for everybody. I think it was meant to be for a very specific type of audience. You know? And it might not have been meant for you. You like a lot more action than a show like Kino's Journey had to offer.
It's not like I just like action though. I mean, I like slice of life stuff like that. I know this was kind of like a slice of life. I just like.
It's not slice of life. Like in the original one was like more like fables. You know what I mean? Like not even fables. Like story. The story was there as an engine to ask a philosophical question in the original ones.
Yeah, like that. Why is that bike alive? Yeah, I still haven't forgotten about that.
That was not a philosophical question. I know you want to go to funny conversation. I know you want to go to like I don't know why the bike talking is fine for you, but the dog talking is like no problem at all. You're like, look, I know the dog is talking, but that fucking motorcycle has no right talking. It makes no sense that you care about like the motorcycle but not the dog.
I feel like the dog talking is just part of the world. I could accept that. I just can't accept that a mechanical object. I think for me, and just in general, this is just in general. If the bike was the only mechanical marvel that existed in this world and they were just able to talk, I would have been fine. But when they add on automatons to a world that has a talking bike in it and they don't explain whether the bike is an automaton or not, really irks me because that bike doesn't belong is where my brain goes. The bike shouldn't be. There's a magical reasoning behind this bike talking and they don't explain it. The dog, they don't need to do that for because it's just a really weird world. There's a possibility that dog may not be normal, but I accept that because I've seen a lot of other shows where animals are just randomly talking for no good reason sometimes, depending on the show. Like I've seen that a lot. But you say that it's a robot, okay, I take the information in. He's a robot, but there's other automatons that don't do the amount of talking that he does. And on top of that, it's not just like he's just talking. Hermes is having conversations that are kind of deep with her throughout her journey. He's asking her questions that make her think. Like it's a part of the reason why he's there is to help her move along in a vehicular sense, but also help the story move along too. My problem is that Hermes, you say he's a robot, but they don't explain that or even just outright tell you. He just suddenly, like the original Kino just finds him like dust, like rust ridden on a side in the alleyway, and he just buffs him up, and he's just suddenly alive. And I'm like, I'm supposed to accept that a robot is sitting in the middle somewhere, and you just buff him out, and okay, he's fine. He doesn't have a backstory. Even half the things in this world have a backstory.
Yeah.
So it's like, but why? It's like they didn't care, in my opinion, about Hermes when they introduced him to the. To me, he's a perfect example of a character that they could have done way more with, because it seemed like he had potential for it, and they didn't do anything. They could have easily explained his existence, and I wouldn't have been fine. Okay, is he just a magical motorcycle? Because the world is not normal as it is. A magic bike wouldn't have been the worst of it. I mean, just saying, like, but they didn't want to give him an explanation. That irked me to a point where they probably shouldn't have. But you know, it's just like
it probably shouldn't have made that big of a deal for you.
But it's like, for me, it's like everything else had an explanation. Why is the bike the only thing that doesn't have one? Like,
there's stuff in the original series that doesn't have an explanation as to like why the landscape changes. There's one scene where she's trying to follow a map, and the world just starts changing around her, and she's like, "Oh, that's why my map's not accurate, because the world is changing around me." They never explain why the world's changing; it just changes around her.
I thought they did.
Or why the dog talks. There's just a talking dog now. We have a talking dog for no reason. You've never seen a talking dog? No, I haven't. You know.
I think they over this. The world is just weird. I don't think that the world is weird is a good enough explanation for the bike, though. Before you say it. I don't think the world is weird is a good enough explanation for a world of automatons in it. Like, I don't think most of the episode where they talk about getting introduced, I don't think they even talk. If they do, I would have to wait to watch it and read the thing to see. But like, for me, it's like, give me a backstory, because Hermes is an actual character. Like, if he wasn't an innocent character and he didn't talk, I wouldn't care. But it seems like he's a character, and he's important to Kino. So it's like, give me something about him. I'm interested in learning more about the bike, is basically what I'm saying, and they don't give me anything. I'm actually legitimately interested in learning more about the bike. They just don't do anything. And his name is Hermes. That's a freaking Greek god. Like, of all the
things named it Hermes, though. They named it Hermes, and it's a god of travel.
It's still, they still pull Greek myth. I'm just saying, like, to me, it's like, I feel like they dropped him in there and he's important for something, or like he has some sentimental value to Kino that I want to know more about, besides he was pulled from an alleyway. To me, he seems like a throw-in. They could have easily given her some other way to travel. Not just
well, she met Kino by having him save her life, and Kino, who doesn't talk about herself very much, benefits from Hermes as a literary tool to get her talking by asking her questions. In the original one, Hermes is a sounding board. Like, Hermes is the audience asking Kino questions. Like, and a little bit of comic relief to offset how serious and, like, brooding Kino is otherwise. Kino would almost never talk about Kino would never talk about herself if Hermes wasn't there to ask her questions and ask her to reflect on the episode and, you know, the things that her experiences and stuff like that.
I don't care about her that much as I care about Hermes, as you can clearly hear me complaining about it. Just saying.
But Hermes in the original one is a literary device to get Kino to talk about herself. In the new one, he's her friend. As a matter of fact, she introduces Hermes as her friend in the new one, whereas in the original one, she calls Hermes her partner.
Partner still gives a certain sentimental, I mean, not even sentimental, he still reveres Hermes as something, as an important figure, or like, he still sees Hermes as like important to her.
But a partner can also be seen as sort of a business partner, because she has her first conversation with Hermes, and it comes up later on as well, is she says, I give him balance and he gives me speed. And she refers to it almost like it's a business transaction. Like, I give him balance and he gives him speed. It's symbiotic. And she refers to him as a partner. In the new one, she's a much more affectionate character, verbally emotional. Like the original Kino, like she's traveling because the Kino that saved her life traveled, and she's becoming that character. But also, she says, whenever I see a bird, it makes me want to go on a journey. And I am a traveler, and that's my identity. Like, I'm a traveler, and that's like is about as deep as it gets. In the new episode, in episode 1, she's like, "I like traveling. It's fun," which is a direct like quote from her in the new one. Like, "I like traveling. It's fun," which is totally different than the other one. And then like they're affectionate with each other in other ways too. Hermes is like the new Hermes is much less self-centered and selfish, which I thought fit a robot slash AI character a little bit more. The original Hermes like talks about human beings like they're kind of meat sacks. You know what I mean? Like he's really like
I didn't like that.
He's kind of cold about human beings and like unempathetic to them. In the new one, he actually says the word like asks her if she's in a good headspace. Like literally uses the phrase headspace, which I think is like a little too woke. It kind of broke my suspension of disbelief when they said headspace. But he's also intellectually, like the original Hermes was very intellectually curious about Kino, where the new Hermes is like empathetic. Even says like good night to her, and talks about being happy. Like the new Hermes says he's happiest when running, and like uses emotional like personal things like that. Where the other Hermes was like fuck you, I need new tires. Stop like being so rough on my tires. And when am I going to get gas? I'm running low on gas and stuff like that.
That's sort of why I really I can't get over Hermes talking. I think it really is just how rude he was.
New Hermes is just like
it didn't do anything to the story. For me, for you,
New Hermes is just a person. Old Hermes was like written from the perspective of a robot that doesn't particularly care about humans.
I like New Hermes more though. I mean, even just getting off the whole talking thing and no character backstory or whatever. Okay, that's fine. I really don't attach myself to characters that are rude unless the rudeness is funny. And for the most part, at least when you described his rudeness in the original, was just straight out jerkish. I mean, I don't like bullies, and I feel like that's what he's saying. Even if it is intellectually curious, it's still kind of coming off as a bully. It's been a really interesting, in a sense of like, I need you to.
But Kino never seems to mind. It's just the sort of relationship they have. Like Kino never seems to mind.
So I still got tweaked by it.
In fact, I would say that original Kino would not get along well with new Hermes. Because the original Kino really valued not being attached to anything. And the Hermes was robotic in a way that like he wasn't extremely attached to Kino. Like they had this agreement that they were going to take care of each other, which worked really well for Kino because Hermes was having a motorcycle was so much to her benefit. And having someone to talk to and help her reflect was something that she seemed to mildly appreciate. But the new Hermes is emotionally attached to Kino, it seems like. Like I said, saying things like good night. And that works for the new Kino, who smiles a lot in the series. Like the original Kino smiles, and it's the exception to the rule, and you're like, oh my gosh, she's smiling right now. New Kino smiles almost constantly. It's like her default facial expression and fits a lot more with that Hermes, as she should, But it's a different character. The new Hermes is not the same character as the other Hermes. It's just stuck in the same situation.
I'm just getting more and more like that. Maybe this show was something I should have watched back then because like I really I'm finding more and more things that I like more about the new one. And I don't think that's your intent here. But it's like it's just for me, like I'm enjoying not even just like the vibrant. I feel like I said this actually when I was watching the episode. I can't actually said this about a bike. I was like, I said I actually like Hermes. What I actually said when I was watching it's like in the third episode. I actually enjoyed hearing him talk, and I also enjoyed I found myself attaching myself to him versus whatever the heck I was doing when I was watching the first one. Again, it's like just beyond the slowness. Like I really Kino was all right, but it was like I don't know. Yeah, she was just really dry. I really didn't like that. I don't know what it was about, like, or what I needed to attach myself to, in the original show. There was nothing I was
Mhm.
getting, I guess, for myself when I was watching the show. Not that it was
Mhm.
bad. It's just, I guess, it feeds in the whole idea like, okay, them remaking it in this way actually is better for me and emotionally in the long run. At least I
Mhm.
can legitimately enjoy what's going on. And even if they did cut
the,
some things
the
out,
original Kino was in a lot of ways like it's called Kino's Journey, but the story is about the places that she visits, not the character Kino that much. They don't do a lot of explanation of Kino, and then like they have a couple episodes that are about her just because they're sure that the viewers are going to be curious about her and stuff. But she's a mysterious character. The original Kino is a very mysterious character, and you have to really work and to piece together her history over the episodes. The new
honestly,
character immediately starts explaining herself. She's like, I like to travel and like I like to see things, and like she speculates right off why she travels. You know what I mean? Introducing herself kind of, and like she doesn't well the other Kino, like think about how much of a non-explanation it is for Kino to say, whenever I see a bird in the sky, I want to take a journey. You're like, fucking what? You know what I mean? Like, that doesn't tell me anything about you. You see a bird in the sky and you want to take a journey. Like, okay, I understand that there's this stimulus response, but like, what's the story behind that? Like, why does seeing a bird make you want to take a journey?
I
Like,
got an answer to you for
is
that
it just
one.
random shit or
She
like
just likes
what? You know what I mean? Like,
birds. I really like.
maybe,
I take a genuine like that. She
or it
just likes
inspires her in
birds.
some way or something like that. But you've got to figure it out for yourself. New Kino's just like, no, traveling's fun.
I still feel like traveling is fun. Is an explanation she would have given like, back in the old show. It's just writing differences.
It's
Yeah.
just a different character. Like the other Kino's just a different character. Like even like when they're in the episode 2, when they're like going into the Coliseum. In the original series, it's implied that Kinos doesn't have a way out. Like she probably could have fought her way from through the original guards, but once she goes into that prison cell, it's implied that she doesn't really have a way out of the Coliseum. But in the new one, at one point, like Hermes is like, "What the fuck, Kino? Why aren't we just fighting our way out of the country?" And she's like, I probably could do that, but I want to test my abilities." Which doesn't make any sense to me because she's going to participate in the Coliseum battles because she wants to test her abilities. But wouldn't fighting your way out of the Coliseum also be a test of your abilities? Like that seems pretty
Not
hard.
not really. If she can already assess that she can in fact beat the guards, what is the real assessment there?
Fighting your way through all the guards is a little bit different than fighting your way through the 3 guards at the beginning of the episode.
But I'm pretty sure she was confident enough. That's like
Especially
one
when you
thing
got to
I
bring a
like.
motorrad with you.
That's like one thing I like about her. She seems more confident and more sure of herself in this version versus the way she like even if she was melancholy, she wasn't sure of herself. And while that was not a bad thing, at the same time, it's like I feel like I prefer, and this might just come into people's taste in women. Maybe this is coming from, but like I feel like I find her knowing that she's capable of taking out a bunch of dudes that don't want to win if she wants to really cool. And if she wants to test herself against people that are here stronger and she doesn't know she can. Because I mean, for crying out
Mhm.
loud, even the original one, when she was using her gun, she was shooting people and getting rid of them really quickly. It wasn't like there's no difference there in her power in her ability to use her gun.
In the original one, she's aware that she has skills as a gunman, but other than the Coliseum episodes, when she gets in a fight, she is really scared afterwards. When she fights those 3 guys in the snow that want to take her and make her a slave, afterwards she says that was scary, which is the only like emotional moment she like shows almost in the entire series. That she hugs herself and Kino's like, "You okay?" And she's like, "Yeah, that was scary." And then there's a scene towards the end where she is surrounded by a mob that like looks like like they're thinking about killing her or they're about to kill her, and she fires her gun into the air and scares the mob off. But there's a look of absolute terror and ugly girl horror in her eyes when she scares them off. Like she was like absolute mortal terror, like which is uncharacteristic for her too. When she gets in, which she only gets in a handful of like moments where she needs her gun in the original series. I think that might be all three of them even. But when she does, like 2 of the 3, she's very scared. And the third one, in the Coliseum, she's very confident for some reason. She treats it more like a chess game than like a fight. But the other time, she's very scared.
Does it say she won't display those characteristics here? Again, I said
Well,
that she's
I mean, in this one, she's like, yeah, I could fight my way
easily,
out. Like, she's positive she could do it. She's like, yeah, I could fight my way out.
It could easily just be like her putting up a front. People do that all the dang time.
Why would she do that to her robotic motorcycle?
I'm saying that she's doing that to her robotic motorcycle.
And she's also a little cocky to the guards outside when they're like, oh, do you have a weapon, little boy? You have a weapon? She, like, pulls the gun on his face, and she's got a little smile, and she's like, is this good? Which is very different than the other Kino that, like, points the gun in his face as, like, a warning to him.
Who's to say that wasn't a warning? I'm just saying, like,
don't fuck
I feel like these are reactions that
it's a different type of warning. It's a smart-ass warning. It's a smart-ass, like, playful thing with the new Kino, where the old Kino was like, this is the only warning you get. I will kill you if I have to. You know, I'd rather not kill, but I will kill you if I have to. Here's a gun in your face.
You know, I've seen enough of serious moments in shows that I just needed a breath of fresh air.
Yeah, it's a happier show. The new Kinos is a happier show than the old one. The other one. The other one is meditative. This one is more brighter, and it's got more action and excitement and humor and stuff like that. The other one has more philosophy and is very stylized storytelling.
I like things that make me think. I mean, I already, like, some of the shows I showed you or like make you think. I just there's something different going on with, like, you know, and it could honestly just be the color palette that I'm just not agreeing with in general. It's like I can't get beyond what I see to really even enjoy whatever is in the grit of the show. Because for me, it's like that brown wash is still in my face. I'm like, not every show, and I'll say this too, not every show needs to be bright and beautiful. I watched enough shows that are definitely different. I've even watched a few shows that have a lot of gore in it, because there was a point in my life where I wasn't going to, because I got, well, I guess there's some shows that can really work and give an impression. It's like, okay, this new show may not be for everybody. The old show definitely is not for everybody. I don't know. Like, I legitimately am enjoying myself through this. It's something I could not say about the original one. I only went through the original one because, okay, like, you liked it. It's like, okay, maybe I'll find something that
the original one was my hands down favorite anime. My second favorite anime is Trigun, and my third is Read or Die, probably. There's a big drop off between the three, though.
I will say I noticed something in terms of anime choices. I watch a lot more anime over cross of a thing versus you pick certain ones that you enjoy. And also, one of the bigger things I noticed that you say a lot when you watch something in general is that you say you like to watch it over and over again. Like, if a show doesn't draw you into it, so you can watch it again at some point, like, you probably won't be sticking with it, or you won't watch it to begin with. If you do give it a watch, a perfect example is Demon Slayer. I mean, you shot me down on that.
Yeah.
So, like, I felt hurt by that. I mean, I didn't like. It was like, not everything. I realized that everything's for everybody. I just, like, I don't know. For me, I feel like you're not, like, you having a disdain. Well, not disdain, but you're not liking this particular run. It's like, I guess one thing I will say, newer anime sometimes do cut things, and this is just an example of one of those things where they remade the show to fit into a 12 episode. Because I think the original show was like 13 or 14 episodes. I don't think they wanted to do that.
I thought the original was 12. No, it's 13. The original series was 13 episodes, and there was a pilot episode, episode 0, that was, I don't think it was, like, I don't know how you get a hold of it, but I found it, like, bootleg.
Continue with your notes. I think
no, it's considered it's an episode 0, but it's actually considered an OVA. That's weird. But it was like not a very long episode.
Got any more
It
notes?
was released.
Oh.
Yeah, I do. We haven't talked about episode 1 at all, and I had an interesting thing to point out about episode 1, and then I also have a couple notes left from my general notes about the music. These are not a big deal, so I'll just read them. There's just 2 bullets about the music. I don't think the new Hermes sounds as much like a Motorrad should sound as the original did. I liked the original's voice a little better. The new one, like I said, it just sounds so much like a person. There's no tinniness or stylistic nature to the new voice at all, and it just doesn't feel. It just feels like a real person talking, but it's a motorcycle. It's very, very hard for me to connect the voice to the motorcycle.
That's why I find it more enjoyable. Again, I have a vendetta against this bike.
Yeah. And then another thing I noticed was the new Kinos journey uses literal music a lot in the episode. Like when things are happening, there's music playing in the background. The original Kinos journey would just have little ambient sounds, like a water droplet or something like that, occasionally of music. But it would just be seconds of music here and there. It wouldn't like more like a sound than music. Where the new one uses literal music. So listen for it when you watch the next episodes.
I don't like about the original show now. I don't know why this is just been the this has just been a therapy session I need. Why is it happening? But I guess it's early too. Dear God, that show was too dang slow. I'm sorry. I mean, I understand why they did it, but it's just like, oh God, there is some choices they made that I just don't agree with on an artistic level.
I don't have a lot to say about episode 1. During most of episode 1, was when I was making my notes comparing the new anime to the old. I have one big interesting point on episode 1 that we can close up this podcast with. Episode 1 of the original one is called Land of Visible Pain. And they start the episode off with Kino, a little moment of Kino's life that's not connected to the rest of the episode, where Kino's out in the desert, and she says that there's some, and I'm pulling this off from memory, I haven't watched this episode in years. She says there's something important that every traveler that's successful has. And the Hermes, OG Hermes, guesses something like, is it grit? Is it the role to survive? And she's out in the desert, like dying of thirst while she's talking to Hermes. And it starts raining, and she looks to Hermes and just says, luck. The thing that all successful travelers have is luck, as opposed to grit or anything like that. Which is a really, for the opening moment, the opening feeling you get is Kino off on her own, struggling, and she only makes it through that moment that they start the very first moment of the entire series with by being lucky because it started raining. Whereas in the new Kino's journey, the moment is she's driving through a vibrant green field with a blue sky, talking about how traveling is fun. So they move on from that. In episode 1 contrast to the original episode 1. The original episode 1 was Land of Visible Pain. And in Land of Visible Pain, she travels into this wooded, thicketed village, and she's driving by, houses. And every time someone sees her driving by, they run from her, and they run into their house, and they close the shutters like they're scared of her, and she doesn't really get it. And she finally comes across someone that will talk to her, and he tells her the whole history of the country, which is that it used to be a very bustling country, high-tech, everything was incredible, and they decided that they were going to turn the country into a beautiful country full of love and understanding by everybody taking this elixir at the same time. And when you drink this elixir, you will be able to read the thoughts and feelings of everybody around you, unfiltered, 100% all the time. You can't turn it off. They can't turn it off. You will always know exactly what everybody around you is thinking and feeling. And what happened is everybody felt all the feelings of everybody else that you would normally hold back, like poor opinions, negative feelings, pain that like you might have held back from sharing with everybody. And it was too much, and it drove everybody apart from each other. And the only way they could not feel this pain is by living apart from each other. So like all the houses are spread out so that everybody lives miles away from each other. And if they see someone coming, they run because they don't want whatever that person has in their head. So nobody lives with anybody anymore. And she has a moment where she's talking to him, and he tells the story about how he misses his wife and everything else. And then at the end, he wants her to stay with him, and she says no because she doesn't want attachment to anybody. But they have a little moment of wordless communication where they share a look with each other. And as she's driving off, Hermes is like, "What was that look about?" And she's like, and it was. She describes the wordless communication they have, which isn't really important for what I'm explaining. But it was interesting because in the original episode of episode 1, it's a world where everybody sought empathy and love for each other and understanding for each other, and they did it by opening themselves up to each other completely. Like, let's be completely vulnerable to each other at all times. There's no more hiding yourself. You're completely exposed and vulnerable to one another at all times. The episode of the new series opens with a country where people can kill each other. And it sounds like, and instead of saying everybody like loves each other and is open to each other and everything else, it's murder is legal, and everybody's got a gun in this world. And the opposite thing happens. It brings everybody together and everybody's unified by the boundaries created by the fact that everybody has a gun, and like, you know what I mean? Like, they're all there to protect each other. So it was an interesting, like, parallel universe episode of episode 1. I couldn't help shaking off the fact that, like, the country where people can kill each other is a really happy place, and the place where everybody can feel everything that everybody is and there's no misunderstandings is a full place full of pain, that they call it the land of visible pain. And that because that's what came out of it. Everybody could see each other's pain and share painful things with each other. And the place where you can literally kill each other and share pain in that form, like, nobody is going to do it ever. So I thought that was interesting. I don't know if they did that on purpose, do you know what I mean? To, like, as sort of a salute or like a deliberate signal to the audiences of the original that, like, we're doing things differently in this place. But I thought it was an interesting contrast. So I wanted to point that out.
I think an interesting, I guess, philosophical dilemma with I think it's been brought up before. Like, if we as humans can understand each other on that kind of level, would that bring ruin or would that bring paradise? I don't think it's the exact wording. I think I'm sure it's been asked before. And you said that episode where they did do that led to ruin. Like, it's kind of like, I don't think that's even possible. Like, just thinking about it, this is just coming off of your episode because I don't really got much to say about it other than I did enjoy that whole murder village because it turned out to be completely different than I was expecting. I really was expecting people to be frothing at the mouth for murder, and it was surprising that that was not the case, and it in fact was made legal to protect each other. Because when Kino was about to leave, she was let's be honest, she wasn't gonna get robbed, but at the same time, he was a robbing happening in the middle of the village.
Yeah.
But it was interesting that Kino hid behind her bike.
Which is weird because Kino, like, from what we see in the next episode, Kino could have railed this guy. But like, it's not even a very good hiding place. She hides behind Hermes, and, like, I feel like a bullet could have gotten through that.
I think Kino knew what was
I feel like it was at least risky. Like, if the guy shot, there's enough holes in the motorcycle that, like, a bullet potentially could have flown through and hit her.
I think a part of me thinks Kino knew what was going to happen because there's a couple of glances she takes around the village as this guy is about to draw his gun. She takes notice of, like, where a lot of the villagers are standing, and even looks at the windows in the houses that were around her as well. Weirdly enough, as she was taking notice of what was happening. And on top of that, I guess she was also taking notice that nobody was panicking, like in a real situation if there was a gun. Like nobody seemed to be panicking or running. They ran away, but it was more like they were taking position.
That's a fair point. I would counter and say that I feel like Kino would have had no problem shooting that gun out of his hand and not actually being violent. But I get where you're coming from.
I think also that had something.
The safest thing to do at that point is to not fight at all because these people are badasses. I can see where you're going.
Not even just that, but also it also I wanted to bring this up too with the whole Kino headshotting that one dude before that old man who apparently was the murderer that people heard about that lived in that town brought up the fact that he looked at Kino and he could tell that this is what he thought was that he saw that she would shoot and not, you know, she wouldn't have a problem with it. She would basically, he invited her to stay there because he felt like she would, if she had to, murder. And Kino kind of turned it down because she didn't give a reasoning. She just kind of shook her head no and then moved on. But that kind of gave me the idea that at the time, before episode 2 happened, that maybe she's not a murderer. That was completely thrown out the window the month episode 2 showed, but it was like, yeah, again, she's good, she's skilled with a gun, incredibly so. Yeah, she probably could have shot the gun out of his hand. I'm pretty sure she didn't do it for reasons that we don't know. But
I think the reason was that she thought getting in a life and death battle with this guy would have turned the whole entire country against her. I think she sensed that it was a really bad idea to start shooting. Anyways, I started blasting. You know, I don't think that would have gone well.
I find it funny that dude walked up to him and shivved him. I'm like, oh, he didn't have a gun. He had a sword in his cane. I'm like,
yeah. Yeah, there was like all sorts of weapons, like crossbows and cutler, old woman with butcher knives and stuff like that. Yeah, it was pretty meat cleavers.
I mean, they said that murder, but I will say I like the way they explained that murder. Like, murder is legal, but that doesn't mean that you can flat out wave your gun in public without there being repercussions.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, while I understood, like, okay, this is how they meant by murder. I wonder if a society like that could exist. I bet it couldn't. I think they all be dead. But leaving that all behind, it feels like we'll just. Is it interesting, like the whole idea of humans sharing? I think that's like why, I guess it's why we have a lot of problems that we can't share everything. But I feel like that town showed is like, it may not be the best idea because like people are hiding demons. Let's just be real. People are hiding true thoughts, true ambitions. You know, not. You know, I've always been taught that not everybody's your friend, so be careful. Sometimes you might get stabbed in the back. This is not everybody. You're not everybody, right?
I'm just being a jerk.
Not everybody, like everybody's out to get theirs. And as I live my life and get older, find out, yeah, that you know, it's unfortunate. I hate to live in a way that like, now I'm looking over Joe over here to see he's gonna shoot me one day. But you know, it's just one of those things. Like, I think a part of like the whole philosophical discussion is that if humans are capable of dealing with the repercussions that do come from free thought, you know, projecting how you feel about somebody into someone else's brain, I think society would fall apart like it did in that one particular village if houses were so spread far apart. I think it comes down to whenever it's like the whole community aspect of humanity kind of like gets flattened in the prospect of progress, you know, of any kind. Like it's the community aspect kind of gets like shot in the foot.
Yeah.
As you can probably tell by the way Josh does tear this new anime apart, he prefers the old one.
I prefer the old one. I will say, I remember hating the new one, and I did not hate these. Episode 1, I was pleasantly surprised by. I had seen it before, and when I watched it this time, I remembered nothing about it. I had no idea what I was thinking the first time, but I remembered nothing about it. And I see it as a very different thing, and I wanted to explain why it's not like my favorite anime. Do you know what I mean? It's up against my favorite anime of all time, so it's hard pressed. And I wanted to explain the specific reasons why I feel this is drastically different than what I consider my favorite anime, which I think I've done in great detail. I think it's a completely, if I treat it like a completely different show, which I think it almost is, even though like episode 2 has a storyline that's based directly on the same source material as the 2 episodes of the original. The source material being the graphic novels that they're both based on. I think this one is a little bit more intended for a general audience, and I think it's not as brave as the original one was. I think the original one, they went in there with a high-minded goal in mind. They were like, we're going to be making something that makes an artistic statement. It's going to be a piece of art. Audience and money be damned, at least to some extent. They're like, we don't care so much about making a ton of money. We don't care about appealing to a general audience. We want a very small portion of people to love this episode more than we want everybody to love it. Do you know what I mean? Like, rather than have a lot of people like this episode, we want everybody, a very specific group of people, to think this is the greatest thing. And I was one of those people, and you're not, which is fine. The new one is built much more for a general audience to like, and I doubt that the new one is anyone's favorite anime. I think the old one has potential to be someone's favorite anime. The new one I don't think is good enough to be anyone's favorite anime, but I think people are a lot more likely to like the new one than they are the old one. Does that make sense to you? And does it sound fair?
I feel like you said that this isn't an art statement is kind of harsh.
The new one is making a much safer decisions than the old one did. The old one took a lot of risks and adopted a very stylized and unusual approach, and was something very, very unique compared to the new one. The new one is following a lot of anime formulas, like I explained at the beginning how formulaic the opening credits are, for example. And it's just more mainstream.
I mean, fine. I guess this is like that kind of just like punched a part of my brain of like, I really hate when people talk about something's mainstream and like you're not saying this. I'm just saying like I've heard this. I also heard about people like people being called army or whatever like that because of something, because like they don't. I don't know. It hits me in a really weird way. Why?
I would Dragon Ball Z is mainstream. It doesn't mean I love Dragon Ball Z, but I would also call it an attempt to be a mainstream anime. I would almost compare, like, if I was going to compare these two to Dragon Ball, Kinos' journey is like Daima, and the new Kinos' journey is like Dragon Ball Super. Dragon Ball Super is exciting. It's full of action. It's packed. It's made for a mainstream audience. Daima is more like a love letter to Dragon Ball. Like, you have to be a much more hardcore Dragon Ball fan to like Daima than you do to like Super. Super has a lot more fan service in it, and Daima is like, Daima's for like people that miss what happens in the original Dragon Ball. Do you know what I mean? Before it was even Z. And I would argue that Daima is not as good as Super. I think Super was the better of the two, but it also happened to be more mainstream. So mainstream doesn't have to be an offensive term, but I think it's an identity. It identifies what they were going for. They were, I think the new Kinos' journey and I think Dragon Ball Super were both made to be something that the fans wanted and would enjoy, like a general audience would enjoy, where Dragon Ball Daima and the original Kinos' journey were more targeting a niche audience. You know what I mean? Going for like a cult following. You know what I mean? Which things that go for a cult following are categorically not for everybody.
I guess I'm still working more like I don't think anime is mainstream, but I understand what you're going for with talking about Dragon Ball Z, it's like that. You know, everybody seems to like it. Like, it's just like I have this. I don't know if I can fight the notion, and I might be able to. It's just one of those like I feel like as far as I can tell, anime isn't mainstream. As far as I'm aware, there are people who like watching it, but it's not everybody. And I can tell this mainly because anime movies don't show up over here. Period, unless there's something really popular. Looking at the Z movies, for instance, because they make money. But yeah, I understand what you're talking about. I guess what I'm also trying to get out right now is like I watch other things that aren't well. Like I don't even think people like Angel Beats all that much. And I brought that up a couple of times, but it's like Angel Beats.
People don't like what?
Angel Beats. Okay,
I don't know what Angel Beats is.
Angel Beats is a show that I watched a long time ago. It's kind of got the color palette like the new Kinos Journey, but it's doing a really an interesting thing with the concept of death. You kind of don't know it until like the final episode. So, like they do a good job at hiding what's really going on until like the last few episodes. I think it's like 12 episodes. I told you about this show that I wanted to see another season 4, but it never did. Kind of just had its own story told from beginning to end. It was a pretty short show.
Yeah.
I don't know if that would fit because it doesn't have like. I don't know if it's like. I guess I consider artistic for its time, but it's not artistic in a way that you Kino's Journey. You know, with the color palette being earthly. I mean, they even say that I looked it up. Like apparently the color palette they call Kino is earthly. I'm like. Man, I really don't like all that brown. There's some brown I like, but it's like, ew. But I don't know what point I was gonna make there, but you know, it's like that's not for everybody. I feel kind of bad not liking the original much. But it's like for me, it's like I don't know. It really. I hate to use the word slog, but it really kind of was hard. I think I got through it for sure. I just don't remember it. It's like not as memorable, and I probably won't remember this show any better than the original, just to be real. Because I mean, I probably more rewatch this, but I'm not gonna sit there and say I will. I had to choose between the two. And again, it's like not like slow shows are bad. I like shows that have a lot of like story to tell. Perfect example is One Piece. That show has not ended. It's been going on for like 10+ years. So
yeah.
I'm only in like still the beginning half of this of part 2 after the time skip. So as Kinos Journey just was a miss for me. Dragon in some respects, I think that's more memorable for me. Kinos Journey.
Yeah.
It wasn't as fast paced. I mean, it was fast paced, but it wasn't like super. I remember that other show again. Anyway. What's the name of that game? But I guess with that, we're gonna come back in 2 weeks with 2 more episodes. Yes, it's gonna be episodes 3 and 4. I'm gonna hope I remember. Well, no, I should remember 3. Wait. 3 is the movie city. Don't know what the 4 is. Find that out when we get around to watching it. I guess do then unless Spear has anything else to add. Notes or not.
No, I think I'm good. I have like little scattered notes, but nothing worth talking about.
Sure, you can just follow them in.
Yeah, that's all right. No big deal. I had a note that said that I was acknowledging that the new Kino's Journey has post-credit scenes that sort of literally tell you exactly what you should be thinking about the episode story so far, like as it happened. And I also had a note that said I noticed that one of the big differences between the new episode 2 and the original 2 episode Coliseum episode is that in the original, Kino openly kills the king. And in the new one, like he tells Shizo and Shizo doesn't want him to kill the king. He wants to kill the king himself. And in the new one, she tells Shizu to duck and like tells him what she's about to do, and he ducks. And she makes it look like an accident, and even calls it an accident to the audience and lies. But in the old one, she boldly like fires out and kills the king. Those are the only two notes I had that like we didn't touch.
I'm gonna end on this one. Just let me get my button on the thing here. Get my hand on the button. I do not think was a psychopath. Good night.